The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hi, Johnny. Hi, friends, for visiting. Thank you for coming to our video on Tuesdays at noon with W4WN Radio. We are so happy to be able to have time with you today and hope that you have some good questions for us. But, of course, we asked Raphael what would be a good topic for today. And so there's been the suggestion of talking about different forms of divination. Now, the last video I did, which really wasn't what I had said I was going to do, and I thought about just canceling it out because I didn't follow through. So I decided to do this show about different forms of divination. Now, I did a tarot reading on the show one time, and I've been experimenting with that because I'm not really that professional as far as tarot, but anybody can pick up a deck of tarot cards and play with it, and you'll be surprised at how accurate you can be. But I suggest that you keep a little notebook just for your readings to be able to figure out the accuracy so that you have it dated and you have what you believe it says. And then when something happens, it says, oh my gosh, that's what I got in that tarot reading. You can go back to that date and put kind of a check mark, yep, this happened. And that way you can begin to understand if you're interpreting the different things accurately, the different kinds of divination accurately. This is why Raphael recommends that everybody keep a daily journal of your ideas and your inspirations, because those are the things that you are being inspired by angels to perhaps start a new project or to do something or to call somebody out of the blue, somebody you haven't thought about in a long time, and you suddenly think about them and you go, oh, no, I won't do that. But if you are thinking about them, then it maybe means that you are supposed to call them because they're maybe thinking about you too. And so we're going to talk about the different forms of divination today and kind of look at them as being, all of them being valid, but none of them being totally accurate. And just like anything you choose to do in this moment in time, you can't say that what's going to happen from that choice is going to be a good one to show it was a good choice. You don't know the future. And neither does anybody that even claims to be a psychic. They can get hits, as they call it, where they can pick up on the energy. I call it the mindset that the person has right now, which is actually creating their future. And if their mind is set on certain ideas or certain beliefs, then they will bring into their lives to either agree with that or to challenge it. And so these are the different forms of divination. I wrote them down. Well, I talked about the tarot cards. They are a form of divination that I've been having fun watching different tarot readers on YouTube. Excuse me. I'm going to get myself a coffee cup before I start having problems. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So I've been playing with the tarot. I don't claim to know how to do it very well, but I do know that it does have a certain amount of accuracy. And I always write down what I get, the day that I get it. And then if I have any form of divination that shows what might happen in the future, like I've been doing, I've found that a lot of times I'm very accurate. And of course, I do have the help of an archangel to give me that information. And so today, let's talk about the tarot cards. Anybody can buy tarot cards online. And the things that I've been learning, and I'm still very much a novice at this, is that you don't want anybody else shuffling your cards or using them, because you want to put your energy into it, which will mean that your guides know it's you handling the cards. Everything is energy, remember, we've said this before. And it is really important that you understand that you, being an energetic being, are creating every minute, every second you're creating. And you really need to pay attention to your thoughts, because your thoughts are things. When you have a good, happy thought, you are creating an energy that is raising your consciousness out of, oh, muddy thinking, out of sadness, out of darkness. When you have a happy thought, boy, hold on to it. And if it's an idea to do something that would be a happy thing to do, get up and figure out how to do it. And so that's one of the things that we need to talk about. If you're playing with the tarot cards, your attitude when you're playing the cards are very important. If you are in a funk and you're playing the cards to figure out why or what you need to do, always call upon your angels and guides first to help you raise your consciousness out of that funk, out of that dark energy, because your cards will reflect that. Your cards are always going to reflect your energy. And if you have dark energy pulling you down into depression, I wouldn't suggest the tarot cards, because they're not going to help you. They're only going to reflect what you're feeling. And then that can make it sink down deeper. There's a different form now, and that's called intuition. And that has a whole group of things. Your intuition is really your spiritual self. You have three parts to you, maybe more, but you have three major parts. One is your soul. Your soul, when I do a reading for you, and by the way, let me tell you again, you can get free readings with Raphael and me, and it is always uplifting. It is never condemning or judging. It is always uplifting, and it's free. All you have to do is email me at Angel Betty Ray, there it's going across the screen, at gmail.com. And I will be happy to find a time to spend with you and with Raphael. I offer this free because I'm at an age now where who knows how much longer I'll be on this planet. And I've been blessed in so many ways. I'm turning that blessing over to you by giving freely of the joy that I have in being a channel for the Archangel Raphael. And so don't hesitate. And that's angelbettyray@gmail.com. It's going to cross your screen, to just email me and say, I would like to have a reading. And we will find a time. I will communicate. We can both find a time together where I can answer your questions through the messages that I get from Raphael. It's not Betty Ray doing it. Betty Ray doesn't learn anything about you. And it's kind of funny too, because I tell people you don't have to worry about privacy, because when I'm done with the reading, I don't remember anything. When I turn into Raphael, it's like I've picked up the telephone and it's only Raphael that is speaking. And when I hang up the phone, I have no idea what was said. Or I can remember it when you come back in and I'm in your presence, or you're in your energy again, all of that will come back. And it's amazing how that happens. You know, I don't remember anything. And then you come back into my energy, and there it is again, everything practically that we said. So that's not Betty Ray, that's Raphael. And that's why we say, ask Raphael, and we will be happy to tune in and give you his answer. Now I say his because Raphael I think of as male. Some people think of Archangel as female. They are non-gender. They are pure spirit. And by the way, they don't have wings. They don't need wings. They're pure spirit. Only humans put wings on back at, not that long ago, the Renaissance. And that's a story in itself we won't even go into. We talked about it before. So the tarot is one form of divination. And intuition there's different kinds. There's what's called clairvoyance. Now, these are French terms. Clairvoyance is a French word meaning clear seeing. And so people who are clairvoyant, like me, that's mostly what I do. Raphael sends me pictures. Now, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's true. And sometimes I get the picture in a snap, and I fumble to try and interpret it with words to be able for you to see. This is why I have this angel picture behind me, because angels are whispering in your ears as well. And all you have to do is just get quiet and stop the rattling around in your brain of questions and so on. And so your intuition includes clairvoyance, clear seeing, claircognizant, which is clear knowing. You know how you get that idea and you know something and it proves to be true? You don't know how you know, but you know that you know. That's called claircognizant, being aware of something, knowing that something is, even though you can't prove it. And then there is clairaudience. That means that you actually hear, and you're not crazy, you hear voices in your ear. Now, you do have to be careful because that can be a psychotic episode, but it's not like a loud voice, although I've had that happen once. I was driving around in my car and I heard the voice in my car. It scared the bejeebies out of me. And I heard, Betty Ray, slow down. Don't go more than 5 miles over the speed limit. Those words were clearly heard with my ears. Did I pay attention to it? Well, I slowed down for the minute, but next thing I knew, I was getting my third ticket for speeding. Uh-oh, that meant my insurance went up. Oh boy, did I learn my lesson. It took like 2 or 3 years before my insurance went back to normal. So when you get a voice either inside your head or outside, you better pay attention because they are trying to save you from a lot of grief, And so then you have clear hearing, clear seeing, clear knowing is clear cognizant, and clairaudience is clear hearing, clairvoyance is clear seeing, and then you have clairsentient. Those are those feelings you get in your gut that you just know, which is part of clear knowing, but you just have that feeling that something's going to happen. And that's why it's important to keep a daily journal. When you get those hits that something's going to happen, if it's even something bad, I'll give you an example. A friend called me who is a budding clairvoyant and claircognizant. She had gotten a picture of the spaceship trying to take off, and it was aborted, and it came back down. She saw it happen 3 times. Tried to take off, came back down. Tried to take off, came back down. Tried to take off the 4th time, and it went up, made a U-turn, and crashed down into the earth. She had a vision of that. And she called me because she was so upset. What do I do? What do I do? I said, because Raphael said, change it. When you get something that is not good, don't focus on it because that gives it energy to happen. Instead, use your divine source of love to love that situation away from the negativity and allow the spaceship to take off. Well, sure enough, she called me later and she said, I actually saw it happen. It worked. And I said, what worked? What were you talking about? She said, I saw the spaceship tried to take off and they aborted it 3 times. And then I just held my breath. And the 4th time it took off and I kept visualizing it going straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. And it did. It didn't crash. And I thought, good for you. You sent divine energy that probably saved lives. And so you don't know how powerful you are, dear ones. You really don't know how powerful you are. I hope that more people are tuning in to find out how you are clairvoyant, clairaudient. You can hear the voice of God within you that comes very subtly. You are let's see, what are all the clairs? Clairsentient, which means that you can feel something is not right. and it will give you an idea of what it is, or something that is really good and you get excited, but you don't know why you're getting excited until it actually makes itself manifest. So, dear friends, you are all of these things. Now, I'm going to talk about psychics. Now, there are a lot of religions that say, don't go to a psychic, they're evil. That's nonsense. There are some young soul psychics. And I had a client who called me and said, I just had a reading from a psychic, and I was so upset. I heard in my head, call Betty Ray. And so when she told me that this psychic had told her that she had a bad spirit attached to her that was affecting not only her, but her son, and that for a few $100 or more, I think it was almost $1,000, that she, the psychic, would remove this evil spirit. Well, fortunately, the woman didn't buy it. And she called me instead. And I said, oh, I'm so glad that you checked with me, because anytime a psychic is telling you they can do something for you to remove a spirit, they're not real. They are con artists. And unfortunately, because there are people who do have a gift of the psychic, and I'm now seeing the movie. I can't, all right, I'll remember the name of it. Whoopi Goldberg plays the part of a phony psychic who becomes a real psychic. And the movie is quite funny, but she actually also becomes what we call a medium, where she can talk to people who have passed over. And this is really quite accurate. If you get a chance to watch it, it's called, it's a love story. It's called, it's gone. I can't think of it. Maybe you can and you could tell me. But anyway, so there are psychics who are really very good. And I'll recommend one, if I can remember the name, because I don't seem to be able to do that. On YouTube, she's called the Comanche Psychic. And she's really very good. And she's also honest and true. And so if you get a chance, watch her, the Comanche Psychic. And there are others who are very real and are a very big service to other people. So, but nobody is 100% correct. 80% is about the best anybody can get. And that's what I say, even for Raphael and me, because I get the message non-verbally, telepathically. That's the word I'm looking for, from Raphael. And I have to translate it. My translation may not be perfect. And so if you have some reading for me, and like I had one woman after 4 years came to visit me in Michigan at my home. And she said that at the time I'd given her the reading, nothing made sense to her. And she kept saying, no, that can't be true. No, that'll never happen. No, 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 no. And I thought, man, I've really messed up reading for this person. 4 years later, she listened to the tape recording of the reading, and she said everything we had said had come true. So when you do get a message, know that time is 4 years later, she could recognize that what had happened had come true. So we say to you, don't be afraid to trust the psychic reading. Don't be afraid to try having somebody do a tarot reading for you. Don't be afraid of it. But you, in the long run, are the judge. And if you keep a journal, you will begin to see truth or fiction. And so that's one thing. Now, there's astrology, which I know absolutely nothing about and never will know. In fact, I did try to study it. I took a class from a very good astrologer. And I had little flashcards to study, and I would shuffle them and I would study them. And I could not remember anything. I couldn't know which was earth, air, fire, and water. Still, I know that I'm a fire sign. That's about it. Excuse me. And but everything else just would not stick in my head. And finally, I heard Raphael say, "We want her empty-headed," and I just cracked up, because they didn't want me using any form of divination to try to interpret what they, meaning Raphael and company, were saying to me. They didn't want me to interfere with my knowledge, my head, my background. They didn't want me to do that. They said they wanted me to be a pure channel, and they wanted me empty-headed. So that's the way it's worked. I've never been able to follow astrology, and when I do listen to some of these psychics that I do watch, and they start talking about astrology, my eyes kind of cross, and I will sometimes just shut them down because it doesn't make sense at all. Now, I've just had a reading from a wonderful astrologer, and it's amazing how accurate and right on she is. And so I highly recommend getting a reading from a good astrologer, but never get it from me. It doesn't work that way. And so then you have numerology. Now, I seem to have a better hold on that. I knew the different energies of the different numbers from 1 to 9. And I could tell you that 9 is an ending, and 8 has to often do with karma, or it has to do with money, and it has the affinity sign when you turn it sideways. So I've learned numerology, and I could do a little bit with that, but it never comes up in a reading. It's not for me to be interpreting what you need to hear. It's because I have an archangel knowing you better than anybody that can do that. So don't hesitate to email me if you want a private meeting with Raphael. Okay, so another form besides numerology, and what they do in numerology is they take your birth date, break it down by adding all the numbers together, and then that is your, I don't even remember what they call it now, but that's your personal number. And that will say how you will look at life throughout your life. So numerology has a lot to say. And then we have a form that's mediumship. And that's for people that have a truly sensitive energy toward those who have passed over. And when I talked with people and they asked me, can you get a message from my mother? I don't ask for the mother to come. I ask Raphael to go to that person and ask permission, if it is for their highest good, to come and join us at the reading. And many times they do come. In fact, one time we asked for this woman's sister, and the client did. She asked for her sister to come. And so there was a pause where Raphael went and asked this person. And the next thing I knew, coming out of my mouth, it was, "What the hell are you doing with that man?" And it was like that person had jumped in my body to use my voice to say to her personally that relationship is going nowhere. And believe me, it shocked me because that person sort of jumped into my body, used my voice, came out with that, and then was out of it again. And that it's not possession, because Raphael is definitely my gatekeeper. He would not allow it, but he did allow that. And it was funny. It was really funny. That's a form of mediumship. That's where you can talk to those who have passed over. And talking with them and having them speak through you, those are two different things. And the second one of having them speak through you just doesn't happen that often. So, all right. So those are main forms of divination. And I have another friend who uses regular playing cards as a form of divination, and she's really very good at it. But I don't know anything about that. And if you know of another form of divination that I've missed, then please let us know. And so this today is, there was a question that I had when I did the tarot reading for myself, and it was about divine justice. And the first card that I drew was Justice card. And it was showing me the difference between human justice and divine justice. And so when you are asking for justice, if you've been wronged in some way, or you have a lawsuit going on and you have been damaged because of something that happened, that it was somebody else's neglect that caused it, and you've been led to have a lawsuit against them, then divine justice is working its slow way through, and you have to be very patient, because sometimes lawsuits can go for years. But I do have a friend who is experiencing that right now, And the only thing I can tell her is that divine justice will come through, but it's going to take some time, because big companies don't, even though they've got money, they don't want to spend a dime if they don't have to. And they especially don't want to be responsible for somebody being injured because of their neglect of the property they own. And um, so when I was asking for justice, I got the justice card. And I looked at the sword as a human's way of dealing with justice. Off with his head. And we've had a lot of that in the past, and we still have it. We have firing squads in other countries where they will go and just kill everybody because they believe they were wronged some way, and they believe they're doing divine justice. You see, they look at it from their perspective as it being right and good, and we can't judge that. And God doesn't judge it, which seems wrong. But there's a law of balance. And that law of balance says what you send out comes back like a boomerang. And it's either going to kiss you on the cheek or it's going to smack you across the cheek, because if you get what you give. If you give love and compassion to others, it will come back to you. But if you give anger and hatred and doing things to them to get even, oh boy, you're setting yourself up for the same kind of reprisal for something you might have done. So pay attention to that. Divine justice is what goes out, comes back in like kind, so that you can experience what you sent out. And it's not karma. Just get rid of the word karma. Raphael says karma makes you think that if you do something bad's going to be done to you, or that you come back from the next lifetime because you did something bad in the previous lifetime. No, dear friends, it does not work that way. In this lifetime, you are experiencing your free will to create as a co-creator with God. You are given the energy by which you get ideas for good or for ill. And when you act upon the good ideas, good will come back to you. When you act upon the bad ideas of getting revenge, of saying something nasty to somebody, of lacking compassion, of trying to get even, whatever it might be, you're going to experience it in like way sometime in the future. That's just balance. It's not karma, it's balance. And so I know that I've got to watch the time because it seems like I'm always running over. But we had the question of divine judgment, and we have to remember that even at looking at the tarot card, the sword in that is suggestive of doing battle. And that doesn't mean the divine justice, you have to do battle to make it happen. But sometimes you do. It's a balancing of the scales of justice. And it's also the crown in that picture shows that it also is somebody in authority that can deliver justice. And we're going to look at politics. We're going to see that we've got a long way to go where we're going to have people brought to justice. And it's going to be quite an interesting show because divine justice will prevail. And those who have committed crimes to others, have committed fraud, have committed injustice in any way, will be brought to justice. And you can count on it. All right. So we want to talk also about your ability to see things, your pictures. This is why we suggest when you meditate that you also learn to be quiet within so that you can allow your clairvoyance, your ability to see, to have a picture come to you that is worth 1,000 words. This is where you get quiet within, you take slow, deep breaths, and you rejoice that you are in the presence of God and that you are able to hear the voice of God through your angels and archangels that are with you. When you can trust that, you can ask for help in any manner, and you will be inspired what to do next. This is where being quiet within and opening your inner ear, your clairaudience, opening your inner eye, clairvoyance, opening your inner sensing, clairsentient, and you will begin to hear the voice of God within you. You can trust that. And what you need to do is keep a journal again. Keep a journal of the ideas that come to you. And if you get a premonition, write it down and see if it is something that comes true. But if it is like the woman with the spaceship, if it's something that is bad, but be careful what you judge as bad. People think of death as bad. It's not, it's freedom. It's the end of a long journey or a short journey, depending on your age. And it's a chance to go home. So don't look at death as something bad. It's simply a transition to a new environment where there is no negativity, no darkness. And that's heaven. Anybody who comes back will tell you it is so. It's beautiful. And so don't be afraid for anybody who has died. Instead, rejoice and be glad that they are now free of all physical pain, of all physical and emotional pain, that they are now rejoicing in peace of mind and body because they're in heaven. And yes, we can pretty much say everybody goes to heaven. But there are those who could get stuck in the between world. So we will mention that. If there is somebody who is so attached to a human being on the planet that they can't let go for whatever reason, then they could get stuck in what we call the between world. They're neither here on the planet when they're not in the next dimension, which is heaven. They're stuck and they become what can be called ghosts. And that's where we have mediums that can talk to those people who have been stuck and help them to make the transition to let go of whatever it is they don't want to let go of, be it a person, a place, a thing like money. We have seen Ebenezer Scrooge in many different forms, who's had his hands over his pile of gold, and no, I don't want to let it go. And so they let him just stick around in his imaginary gold, and he's not going anywhere, and he's not happy because he can't spend it anywhere. And so let go. When you see somebody who is ready to leave, don't hold them back. Don't ask them to stick around. Release them. Tell them it's okay for them to go, and you will be pleased. Maybe even be given the vision of their spirit lifting out of their body, rising up, angels surrounding them and taking them up to heaven. Now, it isn't up there. Heaven is a state of being, it's a dimension. And when they rise up, they will disappear because they will go into a faster vibrating dimension that makes them invisible. And that's what happens when everybody dies, and everybody dies. And I'm 86 years old, not far from 87, and it just seems impossible that I could be that old and still around. But Raphael still needs me around, so here I am. I'm still waiting for comments. I don't know that we've got, how are we doing here? Oh, ghost. Okay, I must have not said the word right. I meant ghost. Thank you for helping me with that. Okay, we'll go back to comments. I'm still looking for people that might have some questions for us. So don't be afraid to ask any questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to bring you peace and to answer your questions. So don't be afraid. Just come on in and ask questions, and we'll find answers for you. And if not, you can make a private reading with us by emailing us at angelbettyray@gmail.com. And so, Johnny, thank you for joining us today, and good morning to you too. Do you have any questions for us? Since you seem to be the only one brave enough to come and ask questions. I hope that you are having a good morning. I know that you are recovering from a lot of challenges to your physical body, and that you actually drove your car not so far ago. And that was such a piece of freedom for you, wasn't it? It's amazing how when we get to the point where we can't even drive a car, how we really feel housebound. This virus has made many people housebound, but not when you can't even get in the car. And even at 86, I mean, I would be lost if I couldn't drive my little Chevy Sonic that I've had for quite a few years now, and I'm going to keep it, even though we only have very few miles on it, less than 50,000. So it's actually been a wonderful car. And so I understand how wonderful it is for you to be able to drive your car again and get out and be independent. So if there's anybody else that has a question, please don't hesitate to ask it. And so let's take a look here. Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. Um, um, Rebel just gave me the name of the movie that I was trying to refer to. They talked about the beginning of the show when I was talking about how Whoopi Goldberg became a medium. And was an example of being able to even bring through people who could take over her body and speak through her, use her body to speak through her. It's a great show, and a lot of it is really very accurate in that, yes, this can happen. You can be possessed for a short period of time, and that can happen where somebody invades your space. And that's where that saying came from, until you kick them out. And that's in the movie. But when she found out that she could actually do this, it was a little bit of a shock to her. And the story, if you get a chance to watch the movie Ghost, there's a lot of it that is real. I mean, as far as esoterically, but the part of the way the bad guys get to be taken to hell, that's not the way it works. That's pure Hollywood, of these black beings coming out of the ground and grabbing the bad person around the neck and dragging them back down. Nah, that's not the way it works. God is a God of joy and peace and harmony and love. There's no space in God for any judgment or for any condemnation. And hell is a part of the religious belief in punishment. And purgatory came out of that too. And that's what we call the between world. Yes, there is a between world, but it's not fire and damnation like some people would have us believe. And so when I say to you, there is no hell, I have a lot of people that get turned off because they have been brought up to believe there's a heaven and there's a hell. And I don't know if they believe in purgatory, but I know that's what I was brought up to think, that you had to be purged of your sins. And so let's talk about sin for a minute. What is sin but an offense against God? And there is a minor offense against God that was called a venial sin, and there is a major offense against God that was called a mortal sin. Now, this was the preaching a long time ago in the church that I went to. I was raised Catholic, and we did have rules and regulations that was set up, but they've changed a lot. They are much more real and much more up to date. Although I am a spiritual person and a true believer in Jesus the Christ, I am also open to all religions because I see they are pathways to God. I never make any judgments whatsoever when I'm reading for a person. Betty Ray's not doing the reading, so I can't even do it if I wanted to. But whenever you do get a reading, you can know that it will be pure unconditional love that you will receive. And so don't hesitate to give us a call or say, excuse me, to go to angelbettyray@gmail.com and ask for a reading. So any questions, please? Any other comments? And not yet. I don't know whether we are not getting any people coming to this show or what's going on, but we don't seem to be having any questions. Johnny, bless your heart. That student of mine I had 40 years ago, Johnny, was that how long ago it was? 40 years have passed. Can you believe it? That I was your teacher and you were my student aide? Yes, it was a time of times. And you went through a lot as a young person. And look at how beautiful a soul you have come out, as though you've gone through the fire and now you are gleaming as gold. And so I'm happy for you because life has been good to you now. Well, your physical body has suffered, but it's getting better, and that's wonderful to hear. So today's lesson has been on different forms of divination. So let's kind of review because I do believe we still have some time. Can you give us the amount of time that we have, Rebel? I'm looking at the clock and it's 12:41 by my clock. So we do have a little bit of time. So let's review. There are many forms of divining the future. That's what divination stands for. Divining the future. Now, let's clarify. Your thought processes right now are projecting into your future and creating it. Whatever you believe strongly, you will manifest, or you will look at, excuse me, you will look at life in a doom and gloom way or in a way of joy, and you will see good or you will see bad. So it is up to you, and you are alone who are responsible for creating your future. Because as you think now is how your future is going to be. And if you are thinking negative thoughts and doom and gloom and woe is me and the world's falling apart, going to hell in a handbasket, people say, if you are thinking that, then, dear ones, you are creating it. And so we say to you, rejoice and be glad and give thanks to God for all your blessings every single day. Because when you do that, you multiply those blessings. What you focus on becomes reality. This is the truth. What you focus on becomes your reality because you are a co-creator with God. And you're being inspired to do good things every day. And you're being inspired to be of service to others as well. And so we say, don't be afraid. Don't look at what's going on in the world and say, oh, no, nothing's going to go right. Oh, woe is me. Cancel that. And instead, put on a happy face. And even though you don't feel happy in the moment, do something to make yourself happy. And if it means getting in your car, going to the grocery store, and buying a flower, do it. It won't cost you that much, but it'll give you a great deal of joy. And that's where I am so enjoying my azaleas here in Florida. I have 3 old bushes, and the ones in the middle are smaller, but they're white and pink and fuchsia. And the one in one corner is a big old bush, and it's just full of bright red flowers. And the one closest to the house has got these beautiful pink flowers. And it's just wonderful to see. We've also put gardens around my art studio. I actually have a trailer in the back that I bought when I bought the place, and it has a screened-in porch. And it has become my art studio. And if you go to my webpage at Angel Betty Ray, and let's see, Angel Betty Ray and Raphael.com, you will find my webpage and you will see the artwork that I've been inspired to do. But do you know, of course, I'm 86. I've actually been retired for 30 years. I've had plenty of time to do creative things. If you're working full time, don't feel bad that you haven't got time to do something that you're inspired to do. But if you can find time to just do it for even a few minutes every day, you will begin to understand that. I'm looking at my private chat here. Okay. You will begin to understand that you are a creator with God, and the inspiration that you have comes from God to do something beautiful, to make something beautiful. So if it's needlework, if it's painting, if it's writing beautiful notes to people, I have a friend who is got such beautiful handwriting that she doesn't believe in typing notes to people. She writes it. Well, if I had handwriting like hers, I'd maybe think about that too. But it's so much easier for me to get on my computer. My fingers can move really, really fast because I was a piano teacher and I was a music teacher for many, many years. And playing the piano kept my fingers limber. And I imagine that's why I don't have any problems with arthritis. So again, knock on wood, thank you, God. Thank you, Raphael. So everything that you think can become a reality. If the idea is in your head and you expand on it by paying attention to it, then you know what? Become a co creator with God. All the ideas that you're given to bring beauty into your home, that comes from God and your angels. Your angels are simply the thoughts of God that they bring through and translate so you can understand it. So I see that it is difficult for some people because they're pessimists. They have that dark side that seems to want to always challenge everything. And it just seems just very sad. Um, okay. I'm looking again to see if we have any more people. Something just won't get comments. I'm looking to see if we're going to learn more. Chat platform support. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. So I hope we have more people that are listening than my dear friend Joey. Johnny, excuse me, I used to call her Joey. So it's Johnny. And I thank you for coming and showing up. It seems like I'm talking to the air sometimes. But let's review. Today we talked about different forms of divination and what you can trust and what you can't trust. There are many good psychics, astrologers, numerologists. I highly recommend that you trust them and that you get a reading. Now, I can recommend some people if you are interested. I won't do it online unless I have permission from them to do so, like this. So you email me at angelbettyray@gmail.com and know that you can also tune in to Ask Raphael every Tuesday at noon and watch or listen to W4WN Radio I'm reading what's on my screen below. And don't hesitate to get in touch with me. We are here to be of service to you, dear friends. And that's our main purpose. So spread the word. Tell people at least to show up on our radio station and ask questions so other people can see it. And Johnny, if you know of anybody that has a question that you can ask for them, please ask it now so that we can do that for people while we're here. And in the meantime, today's lesson has been about different forms of being a psychic, different ways of being a psychic. And so, besides getting psychic interpretations, ideas that pop in your head about someone that you weren't thinking about, but just suddenly you start thinking about them, write them down in a journal, in a book that you keep those hits as they come in, just to check to see how accurate you are. And we have to tell you, people are not usually any more than 80% accurate. That's about the best you can get. That's because once it comes into the atmosphere of Earth, it gets distorted. And when you hear it, by the time it gets to you, you may get just a part of it. So you're not quite sure if you got all of it. But you need to ask for clarity. That's a really important thing. If you get an idea, it's clarity. Now, let me also say, if you get an idea and you're tempted to run and tell somebody that you've got something for them, please don't do it. Please don't do it because you are stepping up on their stage when you haven't been invited. Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage and we are actors upon it. And that's true. And the important thing to know is that you are only an actor. Right now, this is my stage and I am doing my thing on my stage. And you are doing your thing, Johnny, by being here with me and listening. And this is what we are doing for this moment in time. But if you get something from today's lesson and you want to share it with somebody, ask permission first. Tell them what you got and that you'd like to share it with them. Would they be okay with that? But don't immediately preach to somebody because you learned some valuable piece of wisdom. Don't immediately expect that you're going to get a response that says, "Oh, thank you so much. I really needed to hear that." Instead, you'll probably get a frown, which is saying, "Get off my stage. I didn't invite you up here." And so be careful with that. You can have all kinds of wisdom. And believe me, even the Dalai Lama. And I watched a show recently that showed the Dalai Lama and his visit. And he had the monks making those mandalas out of sand, different colored sand. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. And they no more than got it done and they erase it. And that to them says that nothing lasts on this planet. Nothing lasts forever. And that is to show you that you come and you go. You create beauty and you let it be in the world and then you let go of it. So that is a lesson in letting go. In no matter how beautiful something is, you let it go. Now that's hard to do. I've got a lot of artwork that I'm not about to just let go. When I'm gone, I'll have a list of people that can have it when I'm gone. But I want to enjoy it while I'm here. And if you saw my last video, I was out on my new screen room and I have a Leap for Joy mosaic that I was inspired to create. And that is one of the things that I have done is create mosaics. I've been given the inspiration also to, okay, thank you. We are done. We're past time. There, I did it again. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so glad that you came and that you were with me. God bless each of you. I'll be back again next week. Bye for now.